I am here close to the waterfront in Belgrade, Serbia. The massive statue that you see right there is Grand Prince Stefan Nemanja with the sword and the word, the protector of the city, a holy man fighting demons. And we're going to talk about demons in this video, actually, because we have to talk about Facebook and the congressional testimony of Prince Hogan, supposedly the whistleblower, who revealed to Congress that Facebook is not looking after women and children and that they need to do more to protect the vulnerable in society. And a couple of thoughts come to mind as I was listening to this testimony from this quote-unquote whistleblower. The first thing is that if she was a whistleblower, why would you go to Congress? You would go to like Project Veritas or something if you were a true whistleblower. So now I'm inside the statue. That's the first thing I thought of, is if you're going to Congress to whistleblow and you're going to give testimony, right? So she went to the Wall Street Journal and all that stuff too, and she's been on TV, and then she goes to Congress, right? To me, in my opinion, she's less of a whistleblower and maybe more of a plant, more of a plant, right? Because we all know that Facebook couldn't give a crap about the children or the women or any of that stuff, right? Nor does Congress, Republicans or Democrats. So the whole thing that you saw in Congress, this whistleblower showing up, who's, by the way, she's very much aligned with the Democrats and the Democrat Party. She's made donations to AOC and to other Democrats. She's actually, I believe she's represented or she's associated with the same law firm that Jen Psaki did consulting with, the same law firm that was representing the whistleblower in the Ukraine hoax. Remember the whole Ukraine-Trump hoax? And the law firm, or it's like a law firm, consulting firm. These guys represented the person who were not allowed to say their name, you know, Eric Kukaracha. I'll leave it there. You guys can figure out the name. The person that you're still not allowed to say their name, otherwise you're completely nuked on social media. But she's associated with these guys as well. So Congressman Blumenthal, I think, called her in. The whole thing is whistleblower? I don't know. I would say more like a plant. More like a plant. So why is this happening? That's a good question. Why is this happening? So she's talking about child safety and women's safety and how the U.S. Congress needs to regulate Facebook. Keep in mind, Facebook has already called for the U.S. government to regulate social media. Why would Facebook want regulation in social media? Well, simple. If you can regulate social media, and they've got all the lobbyists and all the billions, you pretty much cut out any competition. Once again, it makes it near next to impossible if the government puts regulation for any competition to come in the social media space or the big tech space, any of that stuff. You won't be able to do any business in that industry, in that area, if the government starts to regulate. So pretty much it'll be Facebook, Google, Twitter, TikTok, BitDance, whatever, Reddit, all these guys. That'll be it. You know, it'll be these big tech companies, Apple, Amazon, and that'll be it. There will not be any competition because everything will be regulated. It'll be too difficult to get into that space, or you will need tons of money, tons of cash to compete with Facebook. Because right now, what's the competition to Facebook? It's not that difficult of a program to make. I mean, it really isn't. Double-headed eagle. It's not a difficult program to make. It's just about getting your friends on board, right? That's Facebook's secret sauce. You know, the billions of dollars spent on Facebook and venture funding for Facebook was all about marketing, really. It was just about convincing everybody to get on so that you're locked in because all your friends and family on Facebook, so you're locked into Facebook. But they want regulation, and she's testifying to Congress, calling for regulation. The guy that works at Facebook, Andy Stone, I believe is his name. He was the guy that was tweeting about the Hunter Biden laptop cover-up from Facebook. He was the guy that helped cover it up, right? That guy tweeted and he said, oh, Frances Hogan really didn't work in child safety. I mean, he tried to he put a tweet out, and I'll put it up right now so you guys can see it. He put a tweet out which kind of made it look like Facebook was pushing back against this Hogan lady, but they really weren't. You could tell that he was kind of half-assing it, right? And so this is all a dog and pony show. This is all theater. It's all theater. Facebook's in on it. Don't forget who Facebook's chief of operations is, Sandberg. She's completely aligned with the Democrats as well. I mean, she was put in Facebook. She was put into Facebook in order to babysit Zuckerberg and in order to turn Facebook into this political surveillance state, big tech apparatus, and that's what Facebook is. We already know that Facebook is working with the government. They're working with the deep state. We already know that they're completely aligned with Democrats. All this is about legitimizing it. That's all this is. And how are they going to legitimize it? Well, simple. Women and children. We have to protect the women and children. That's why they're going to legitimize regulation of big tech. That's why they're going to put it into law and into the books. So they'll legitimize all of it. And it'll all be done under the guise of protecting the women and the children. That's how they're going to pull this off. And Facebook is in on it. I saw this testimony. I saw the tweets from this Stone guy. The pushback from Facebook is half-assed. Facebook really wanted to silence this Hogan lady. They would have silenced her. All of big tech would have silenced her, believe me. Wall Street Journal would not have run an article with her revelation. None of this stuff would have happened. If big tech, Facebook, the media wanted to silence her, they would have done it. But they didn't want to silence her. They wanted to surface her. And then they wanted this congressional testimony so that they could finally get regulation on social media, on big tech, on Silicon Valley, and pretty much crush any competition that even thinks about entering that space. That's what this is all about. There's one word for what's happening right now. It's fascism. The definition of fascism, the simplest form of the definition of fascism, is when the state is working with the corporate, the big business. That's what's happening right now. We've just taken one step closer to a fascist state, because the government will start regulating social media and big tech. They will start passing laws onto the books for operating in the space. And what we've known in secret, which is that the surveillance state and the Democrats, they've got their hooks into Facebook real deep. Now it's just going to be public knowledge. In other words, they're just going to make it common, to put it out into the public sphere, so everyone is going to accept it. That's simple. That's all that's going on. This was all theater. I'm going to play the videos from Hogan, so you guys can see what she has to say. That's the video. It is cold. It's rainy, but I wanted to get this out there. The Duran.locals.com. Everybody, check us out there and go to the Duran shop. 10% off when you use the code REALNEWS. ODYSEE, BitChute, Rumble, and Super U. Take care.
Good afternoon, Chairman Blumenthal, Ranking Member Blackburn, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. My name is Frances Haugen. I used to work at Facebook. I joined Facebook because I think Facebook has the potential to bring out the best in us. But I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people. Congressional action is needed. They won't solve this crisis without your help. Yesterday, we saw Facebook get taken off the internet. I don't know why it went down, but I know that for more than 5 hours, Facebook wasn't used to deepen divides, destabilize democracies, and make young girls and women feel bad about their bodies. It also means that millions of small businesses weren't able to reach potential customers, and countless photos of new babies weren't joyously celebrated by family and friends around the world. I believe in the potential of Facebook. We can have social media we enjoy that connects us without tearing apart our democracy, putting our children in danger, and sowing ethnic violence around the world. We can do better. I have worked as a product manager at large tech companies since 2006, including Google, Pinterest, Yelp, and Facebook. My job has largely focused on algorithmic products like Google Plus Search and recommendation systems like the one that powers the Facebook newsfeed. Having worked on 4 different types of social networks, I understand how complex and nuanced these problems are. However, the choices being made inside of Facebook are disastrous for our children, for our public safety, for our privacy, and for our democracy. And that is why we must demand Facebook make changes. During my time at Facebook, first working as the lead product manager for civic misinformation, and later on counter-espionage, I saw Facebook repeatedly encounter conflicts between its own profits and our safety. Facebook consistently resolved these conflicts in favor of its own profits. The result has been more division, more harm, more lies, more threats, and more combat. In some cases, this dangerous online talk has led to actual violence that harms and even kills people. This is not simply a matter of certain social media users being angry or unstable, or about one side being radicalized against the other. It is about Facebook choosing to grow at all costs, becoming an almost $1 trillion company by buying its profits with our safety. During my time at Facebook, I came to realize a devastating truth. Almost no one outside of Facebook knows what happens inside of Facebook. The company intentionally hides vital information from the public, from the US government, and from governments around the world. The documents I have provided to Congress prove that Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages. I came forward because I believe that every human being deserves the dignity of the truth. The severity of this crisis demands that we break out of our previous regulatory frames. Facebook wants to trick you into thinking that privacy protections or changes to Section 230 alone will be sufficient. While important, these will not get to the core of the issue, which is that no one truly understands the destructive choices made by Facebook except Facebook. We can afford nothing less than full transparency. As long as Facebook is operating in the shadows, hiding its research from public scrutiny, it is unaccountable. Until the incentives change, Facebook will not change. Left alone, Facebook will continue to make choices that go against the common good, our common good. When we realized big tobacco was hiding the harms it caused, the government took action. When we figured out cars were safer with seatbelts, the government took action. And when our government learned that opioids were taking lives, the government took action. I implore you to do the same here. Today, Facebook shapes our perception of the world by choosing the information we see. Even those who don't use Facebook are impacted by the majority who do. A company with such frightening influence over so many people, over their deepest thoughts, feelings, and behavior, needs real oversight.